Recording. No, it's recording. Okay. So anyway, thank you for joining us. I emailed you a rubric earlier. If you're willing to look at that while you watch the presentations, you're certainly welcome to. You do not have to. I would ask that if you have any comments, you can just jot it down on a piece of paper for the students. Each group should very clearly say what the title of their presentation is and what their project is. And so you could just jot down the title of the project, and then just any comments you have, any general presentation tips for them, how feasible this project actually would be for your pumpkin patch or your fall festival, if that's what you're hosting. And if at any time you need to step out, or if you need to step away from your screen to take care of something at home, that's completely understandable. Just go ahead and you can turn the video off, and then we'll continue to record this presentation, and we'll upload that to the teacher YouTube channel that I use, and we will make that available probably later this evening. I'll try and get it uploaded, and then I will email you out a link so you would be able to rewatch anything, or if you have to step away or something, you could just watch that part. So we've got all the groups ready to present, and everything's pulled up. So I'm going to share my screen and step out, and it will be all there. So first off, we have Wait, hold on, I gotta interrupt for a second. I did not share the Zoom link for the rest of the class so they can see the presentations too, which sounds funny, but is necessary. So give me just a second here. Close this. I cannot see the thing. There we go. All right, now back to where we were. Thank you.
This is our pumpkin patch race, and we are Bailey, Babe, Sky, Cammy, and Ryan.
What we're gonna do is we're gonna have a race for small tractors, cars, and things to ride. We're gonna have a racetrack to have and obstacles and bridges. There's gonna be an obstacle and a bridge, and if you can see the screen, that's our racetrack. And yeah.
Basically, our idea is to have kids pay $5 for 2 rides, and they can ride 12-volt cars. And the race course is going to be made out of hay bales, and like you said, there's going to be a bridge and some obstacles. Or if you bring your own 12-volt vehicle, then it will only be $2.
For our budget, we priced the hay bales at $6.99 each, and we figured we would need about 300 of those. And then the spray paint, we thought we would need about 5 of those, which are about $3.96 each. The 12-volt cars are going to be about $82 or $83. For 5 of those, it would be about $414. For the ramp materials, we would need 2 concrete blocks, and those are about $298 altogether. And then the plywood would be about $40.18.
Our pumpkin patch attraction idea would be very easy to put together, relatively inexpensive, and it would be very popular among younger children.
Does anybody have any questions? Okay, thank you for watching.
Just give a presentation.
Let's go, boss man. Hey, hello. I am Reese Walker, and this is Clayton Davis.
And today we are going to be presenting to you our idea of the tennis ball catapult. Here is a model that we made on Tinkercad for it's a rough model of the tennis ball catapult. That white part up top is less of a bucket. If you actually build it, it's more of a dust pan that just you put the tennis balls in and launch them.
So this is our budget. In total, it should come out to $250. You'll spend some money on buying wood. You can find all these items on Amazon.com and or Home Depot.
The income, if you did price this, I'd say about $1 for 5 balls, but that is completely up to you guys and how much you would be willing to have spent, or yeah, gosh. Here's a list of our pros and cons. One of the pros I know is that it would fit in very easily I know the Amazing Anchors. You guys already have attractions that use tennis balls, so this would fit in very easily and could be used easily. It's really easy to transport this because it's not a very big catapult. You can use it from year to year, and it's not too difficult to assemble. Some of the cons are the cost. It's pretty pricey to build a catapult unless you have the wood already. It might take you a while to build it, and once it's built, it's pretty hard to change if stuff doesn't work.
So additional things you need to take into considerations are the dimensions of the catapult is going to be 8 feet long, 4 feet wide, and 6 feet tall. So it can fit in pretty nicely anywhere you put it. You can store it easily. You just don't want to let the wood rot. And for the safety concerns, just give a little bit of distance between you and the catapult so you don't get hit by the nylon cable.
And here's the video that we use to reference our catapult.
Any further questions?
Yeah, Rylan.
Is there any objective to the thing, or is it just to have fun with?
It's just to have fun with. But you could, I know at Amazing Acres they have targets set up, so you could use it to try to hit those.
If someone in class asks a question, you need to repeat it for the camera.
Oh, he asked if, what the objective of this catapult was.
Any more questions?
I have a quick question. I know here we have an Apple launcher, and before we were able to set it up, we had to make sure we knew how far the launcher would shoot behind it for safety. Do you have an idea how far your catapult is meant to shoot? So we have an idea. We have to set up a fence around it so that people aren't behind it. Do you have an idea how far your catapult is meant to shoot?
I'd say the catapult would launch at least 50 feet, but I know if you tighten the nylon cable that it could shoot farther.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions?
Okay, thank you for listening.
Oh, Nelson.
Oh my God, so many.
Hello, we are the Corn Maze Runner group. We are all from the sophomore class at the Nottoway Holt High School, and we have Chase, Caleb, Blake, Wyatt, Dylan, and me, Clay. And thank you for coming.
Our corn maze runner idea is if you have a corn maze already, you can just put it on that, and it's an event for the corn maze. You can have 13 people play at once, so if you have like a ton of kids in line, they won't have to wait very long. There's 10 runners and 3 monsters. That's pretty self-explanatory. Pretty much what it is the monsters pretty much just chase the runners through the maze and try and catch them. And the runners are trying to get out of the maze. That's it.
It's not clicking. There we go. Oh, there we go.
We got the Maze Runner idea from the book, movie, and series, The Maze Runner.
The pros are it's pretty cheap and easy to set up. If, like we said, if you already have a maze going, you can just use that one. Or if you'd like to, you can set up one yourself. And it doesn't require much. Obviously, you can just cut through the corn. But as the cons is, and we need a maze to use, and no one else can be in the maze at the same time, so we don't get messed up with everyone in there.
Here's our 3D model of the maze. Now, this is just a rough representation of what like a maze would be like. You got the start at the left there, and then you have the finish. Because usually the start and finish are on the same side of the maze, so you don't have to go all the way around whenever you finish. And like Wyatt said, like Blake said, the runners would go in, the monsters would go in, and then the runners would have to go in and try and get out before the monsters would catch them.
The budget. All of this was priced on Amazon. So our blue flag football flags are $7.99 per bag, and we need 4 bags for a total of $31.96. Our red and blue pennies for the monsters and then the human players are $16.99 per bag, but you need 2 bags, so it brings up to a total of $33.98.
And it will be $2 per person going through the maze. Well, thank you for listening to our presentation. If you have any questions, please ask now. We have a question in here from
I
Rylan.
have 2 questions.
Yes.
One, could you maybe have it like as an event, that way more people are in there, maybe like 6 to 8, yeah, like the maze
That's
run.
what he said. It's an event.
Okay.
It'll be a set time event from, say, like you said, 6 to 8. And from that time, that's when they can be in there, but nobody else can be in there at that time, besides
And-
the participants.
And could you maybe like implement more rules, kind of like freeze tag, like maybe if you get like caught by the monster, someone has like 2 minutes to find you and pick you back up or something like that.
Rylan asked if you could, one of the kids in here asked if you could implement more rules, like saying freeze tag, where you tag them and they have to stand still.
Like within 2 minutes, if someone doesn't tag you, then you're just
Yeah, and within 2 minutes, if they don't tag you, can go again. Yes, you can. The rules are up to you. Of course, you can change them how you want. And everything will depend on the size of your maze as well, like players. If it's a smaller maze, then you'll probably do less than 13 players. But if it's a bigger maze, you could do more if you'd like.
And the size of the maze will like dictate how long the matches will probably last.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What kind of staff or referees will you say would you have or would you require for that? Because I know for us, we have problems every year with people getting lost in our corn maze, and we have to send somebody in to find them. And we also have to keep people from cutting through the corn. So what would you require as far as staff that isn't necessarily a monster or a runner, but just people that you have to pay in there?
I know that in your maze you have signs for a map of the place, so maybe you could have maybe a person posted there where they could see if people are making it through, and you could have somebody at the entrance and exits. They can see who's coming through and who gets out first and stuff like that.
Okay.
Any more questions? No? Well, thank you for listening and have a good day.
Corn maze. No, maze is, it's the name for corn, Latin name for corn.
Oh, this is The Vortex Tunnel by Colin Tracy Miller. To pretty much summarize it, it's a bridge and you walk through it as the surrounding walls spin.
For the supplies and pricing, pretty much we don't have like a big budget, so we're gonna use like the big drain pipes, the big black tubes that you can roll down the hill in, and we're gonna cut those and make it bigger to where you can fit people inside of it, and then you're pretty much gonna drape black curtains over both ends of it, and then you're gonna put a rail on the inside, and we're gonna get a projector and go around so it'll make the vortex. And so that would add up to about $400. And building it wouldn't take too long, maybe a week, probably less, but it wouldn't be that much labor to make the whole tunnel.
The requirements for the vortex tunnel, you'll need one possibility, two people to make sure nobody gets hurt and make sure everything goes smoothly. The cost is $2.50 to go through. Thanks for listening. Is there any questions?
I have a question. What kind of safety measures have you thought up or could you think up to keep people safe since it is a motion related attraction that's meant to make people dizzy? A big thing for us is insurance and keeping people safe. So what would you do to make sure that all of your customers stayed safe but have fun?
There's going to be rails. So if you do get dizzy and kind of lose, whatever it's called, balance, you can grab onto the guardrails so you don't fall down. Yeah, there's also going to be people working. So
also, this something like for us, a lot of our attractions aren't stationary. Our big slide stays out year round, but a lot of stuff we put away at the end of the season. Is this something that would be left out or would it have to be disassembled and stored for the remainder of the year?
You can probably leave it out for the year round. I think it's a tube.
Okay.
Is there any more questions?
Thanks for listening.
All right, so we have one more group that's going to present today. Our other group is not quite ready, so they are going to opt out on the main presentation. If and when they get their presentation put together, when they get it put together, we'll just record that and then we'll just share that link out later so you'll be able to watch that presentation. So we have one more group here. We have one more group, and then we'll see if we have any more questions after everyone has finished presenting. So.
This is the Trebuchet Pumpkin Launch. I am Xander,
Raymond Thacker.
Malachi.
and thank you for listening on our presentation.
This is our 3D model of our trebuchet, and we are using 70 weights to fling the pumpkin. It's going to be like 100 feet across.
So
So what we like to tell you about our expenses that we have completely dialed down. We went through Amazon and Home Depot and Lowe's to add our expenses. So the total of our expenses will be about $622.96 without the total of all the woods. Now, if we were to add the woods, it would probably come out to a sum of about $1,500. So, for example, one of the things that we had looked up was the 2x4s and whatnot, which had become to a total of about $40 was it? So we took into a concern that I went to somebody personally and had found out that I can get them for free. So it actually came into a good thing that we had found something less cheap. One of the things that we had looked at was sheet of plywood, a 4x8 foot by 11.32 inch, which came to being $17.23. And we got two of those, so it'll be $46. We had wood screws from Sutherland's, which will be $15.88. We're getting a quantity of 3, so it'll be $47.64. We got metal pipes from Sutherland's, which will be $8.99, and we got a quantity of 6, so it'll be $53.94. We're gonna need 50-foot parachute cords from Sutherland's, which is $9.85. We're gonna need 5 of those, so it'll be about around $50. Labor, we had decided that it'll be for a cost of 2 people, since we're gonna be working on it ourselves. Will be around $200 since we're paying them both $200 to work, so we're allowing them to have $400 each. Our daily income for it for the attraction will be $2 per person for 3 pumpkins, since this thing will launch pretty far.
The after use of all of the parts, each of the materials used in the trebuchet can be reused for multiple things. The plywood would be used for building materials like tree houses or normal houses, and the 2x4s would be used for building and reconstruction of anything. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please ask away.
I have a question. Is this something that would be safe enough to allow customers to launch their own pumpkin, or would they pay you to watch you launch a pumpkin?
This would be, we will have where we can allow them to place the pumpkin into the leather sack that there will be attached to the trebuchet, but we will ask them to step aside to the side so we can launch it. There will be a handle for it to where you can launch it, but we would like to recommend that there be nobody behind it, since it launches overhand, unlike a catapult where it just launches forward.
And would you have some sort of like safety fence to keep people a certain distance away from it? Or
Absolutely, we would, because since this thing does actually launch a lot further than a catapult, we would recommend a certain distance for it to be set out so nobody can get hurt.
Okay.
Is there any other questions? Mr. Hamilton.
Are you recommending that they take it down at the end of the season? Repeat the question.
So Mr. Hamilton had asked are we recommended to take it down at the end of the season? Yes, because since it is wood, it can be rotten out.
Teachers, please dismiss the varsity football
But
players.
it doesn't necessarily have to, depending on the kind of wood that we use. So it would be recommended, but it doesn't necessarily have to, since it is a necessarily big kind of thing. Right. So you could put different things on it and keep it from weather permitting, like a tarp or something to cover it, but it would also be nice to take it down too. Any other questions?
I have one more. Also, like they mentioned before with our tennis ball launchers and apple launchers, things like that, we kind of have an idea how far they go. Do you have an idea of how far this would launch? Because I know for us, we shoot our, we call it a corn cannon, but it shoots tennis balls. We shoot it into an open pasture, but we do have neighbors on the other side of the fence row that have a house and cows there, and I'm sure they wouldn't appreciate pumpkins on their roof. So would it require a fence?
It would definitely require a fence, because the trebuchet itself, if we were to put it at max height, would launch about 980 feet. But since we're dumbing it down to about 50%, it should launch at least 150 feet.
Okay.
Any other questions? No. Thank you for your time.
We're gonna counsel the cows. Sounds like.
The trebuchet launcher stuff like that.
All right, so that is all of our presentations for today. I'm going to turn the sound up here just a little bit. Most of the kids have you pulled up on Zoom, so if you have your screen turned on, they can see you if they have it on that feature. So do you have any additional questions for the kids about their presentations or their projects? Now that you've seen several of them, maybe you want to, this group talked about this and maybe this group didn't.
I have a question about the pumpkin patch race. The first one that had the 12-volt cars. Are those cars that kids can ride in, or that they like remote control cars?
Okay, so I'm just gonna repeat back what they say. So are those cars?
It would be the cars that the kids can drive.
Yep, so those are the cars that the kids can drive, like the
Like the Barbie.
like Barbie Jeeps is what they're like the little Barbie Jeeps or the little Gators. So that's what they had used as a reference point.
Do you have any budget, anything for maintenance or upkeep for something like that? Because I know that would be probably a heavily used attraction at our place, and that's something that used a lot is more likely to break down and need upkeep.
So they're talking just amongst themselves. They mentioned battery chargers, extra batteries in case any of the batteries would stop taking a charge or stop functioning, or just to be able to switch them out, to rotate them out. And they said you can purchase extra batteries. So I don't think they have any of that priced out, but they did consider it, it sounds like. Is there any other questions?
On the Vortex machine or whatever, the motion machine, where did they purchase the price for the pipe? I've never seen any that cheap. Where did they get it?
They're talking amongst themselves.
We're not gonna get like a huge pipe, we're gonna cut it, so it's gonna be not cost as much, so we got like a smaller tube, like 6 feet, and then we cut it.
Okay, so they're saying they looked at like he said a 6-foot pipe that you could get from Home Depot to use as the frame, I think is what they're talking about. And then you would put something around it, right, to make it bigger, like a tarp or a sheet or something. So I think that they had just a short section of pipe to use as almost like the frame of the outside of the tunnel.
Okay, well, most of them are only able to be gotten in 20-foot lengths. So that's a really high cost for that, and anything we've looked at. So I don't know if they need to check to make sure that they can get it in the shorter lengths.
Thank you.
Mr. Hamilton,
Yes, sir.
back to the race cars, the first presentation. I was just curious, since they are going to be riding in them, is there any safety precautions like helmets or anything? Because I don't know if I saw that in the budget.
So they're saying that with the cars that they're familiar with, that they wouldn't be fast enough to have a need for a helmet. And they mentioned that their parents would be there with them as well. So if they, ran into a hay bale or something like that, they would be right there on site. And then they said that, you could potentially put a seatbelt or safety strap of some kind in the ones that the pumpkin patch owned.
And I think it would be more like if the parent decided that they wanted their kid to wear a helmet, then it's more like that, but we wouldn't provide.
And they're saying that a helmet could be optional. And so if a parent wanted their child to wear a helmet, they could provide their own helmet. But that the pumpkin patch themselves would not provide the helmet in the budget that they provided and the information they have. So, and if you're not familiar with the cars, they looked at like the little Barbie Jeeps, like they've got like a Gator at Walmart that's like $400 or something. My kids look at it every single time I go to Walmart. So if you're familiar with that kind of concept, so. Well, if you think of anything else, feel free to shoot me an email. I will, like I said, I'll download this video and upload it to the my teacher YouTube channel, and then I'll just send it'll be a private link, so it won't be public, but I'll send that link out to you, and then of course, you know, you're welcome to share it with people that you work with within the Pumpkin Patch Fall Fest community and everything. If you do have any other comments or suggestions that you want to email me, you know, I would love to hear it. Mrs. Carter as well. She's the other teacher that's in this room. So we greatly appreciate you taking the time to watch the presentations and to provide some feedback. If you would, can you let me know how feasible some of these ideas might be, whether you already do them or something very similar, or if it's something that just logically wouldn't work, because that is a part of the project itself, is how feasible it is in the real world. So if you would just at minimum share that comment with me, and then any other feedback that you can give us, we would greatly appreciate it. So thank you very much. If it's okay with you, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and then I'll end the meeting. So.